We on? All right, we are on. Welcome, guys, to a unique episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast and NASCAR Backmarker Battles. Yes, for the very first time, I'm doing a joint episode because I legitimately have no time to do this during the week. As for the people who have been following my account, I am going to Daytona for the ARCA race. Special thanks to Alex Club for the invitation. Was not planning on going to Daytona this year. No plan there. Absolutely. I mean it. No plans in the works. And Alex Club extended his invitation. So, I've decided to go. So we got to get Backmarker Battles and the ARC Racing Podcast done in the same time. So hopefully y'all are here for the long haul. So we'll go through my little intro, go through the beginning of every podcast, and we're just going to jump right into it. So, of course, like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when we go live. We are so close to 1,600 subscribers, literally less than 5 away from 1,600. So if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open if you'd like to send one. Obviously, your super chat will be read. So if you'd like to send one, that'd be much appreciated for the channel. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR media related content. So I'm going to start off with the ARCA stuff first, and then we will get into Backmarker Battles second. So. If you're here for the NASCAR stuff, just kind of wait a little bit. We'll get to that. So we're going to start off with the ARCA series, and boy, I've done this show now. Hard to believe I've done this show now 3 years. But I've never been so excited for a big track ARCA race. We get a lot of complaints sometimes about car counts, and I know there's going to be some races this year that might not have the biggest car counts, but man, you got to celebrate the times that you can. 50 cars, the biggest amount of entries for any race for Speed Week at Daytona. We blew NASCAR away with the amount of entries. Who the hell would have called 50 entries for the ARCA race? Even I would not have called that. I'm telling you. I figured maybe we'd get 40, maybe an even full field. But no, 40. We got first reported was 47, and now it's officially up to 50. 50 entries for the ARCA race at Daytona. That is unbelievable, man. It is just so rewarding, man, because it was concerning for a while, the field sizes at Daytona. Obviously, with the Gen 4 cars, there was still no problem getting full fields. But I remember back in 2018, when we had the debut of the Gen 6 bodies, the composite bodies, I was a little iffy on how many cars we were going to get for Daytona. We had no problem the first year. The first year, we had 39. We actually had 40 show up in 2018, but we had to have one withdraw. But in 2019, I feel like is when you started to see it. 2019 only had 35, and then 2020, we only had 33. And I'm telling you guys, at that point, it was a little concerning. But since 2020, we've managed to go up. 2021 and 2022 had both bigger car counts. And then 2023 last year, we actually had a full field of entries. But as we know, Andres Perez de Lara was not old enough to run. So he had to run one practice lap around the apron and then bring it in so that way he could technically get points to compete for the championship. So we technically had a full field last year, but we really didn't. This year, though, there is no denying it. We will have a full field and arguably the most competitive Daytona ARCA race in a long time, long time. Not to say that the last couple have not been competitive. I still stand by the fact that last year's Daytona ARCA race was the best race of Speed Week. Mainly also because it was the only race that had a green flag finish. And that's always good. So, but yeah, just an impressive amount of entries. We're going to go through the entries, entry by entry here. So we have 50 here. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to go through every entry. So bear with me here. We are starting it off with the number 2 of Andres Perez de Lara. He is one of our full-time guys. He'll be competing for the championship. And he is my early pick for the championship right now. We got Willie Mullins running under his own operation, number 3 Ford. Quarterman Dale Quarterly, Race Hell Orderly, praise Dale Quarterly. Everybody knows that. So good to see Dale back. LeVar Scott also going for the championship. So good to see Rev with 2 full-time cars again. Eric Caudell in the 7. We got Sean Corr in the 8. Fast Track Gang. We got Ed Pampa in the 10. Bryce Hogberg in the 11. Ryan Roulette in the 12. Armani Williams in a very surprising entry with Carl Long. Yes, MBM Motorsports running an ARCA race. Who would have thought? So, fun fact, this is actually Grant, the chassis that Armani Williams is running in his number 13 ARCA car is the same chassis that Grant Enfinger won in the Daytona ARCA race back in 2014. So a little bit of chassis history right there. It's an older car, but it's also the car that Mark Thompson ran last at Daytona in 2018. So it's been MBM's pet project ARCA car for many years, and it's great to see it back now with a Toyota body, as it was primarily a Ford. So good luck to Armani. I hope he can make the race with Uncle Carl. So, yeah, that was cool. Chris Wright, of course, in the 15, one of the 3 full-time drivers for Venturini. Of course, in number 15, Marco Andretti. That's a cool entry in the 17. Tanner Gray in the 18. Of course, he is filling out the races that William Sawalich is not old enough to do yet, unfortunately. Jake Finch in the 20. Start off the Venturini Brigade. So Tanner Gray, and then Jake Finch in the 20. Amber Balkin, full-time in the number 22 for Venturini. And then, of course, Tony Breidinger in the 25, full-time for Venturini. So, Chris Wright, Amber Balkin, and Tony Breidinger. Can they bring home a championship? We'll see. Good to see Tim Richmond back, obviously with his own team, Richmond Racing. Shane Van Gisberen in the 28 for the Pinnacle organization. Obviously, Shane is running this race to help get approval. He already pretty much has it. They just kind of want to see what he's going to do. I don't blame NASCAR for making him do this. I think Shane will be fine. He'll do just fine. I don't think he'll win, but I think Shane will be fine. Number 30 car, pretty interesting entry. Here we got Justin Bonsignor from the Whelen Modified Tour. Very successful driver from there. Mitch Gibson will be in the 31 for Rise. Christian Rose will be in the 32, returning for AM, another one of the full-time drivers. Greg Van Alst's team will be running 2 entries. The number 34 for Isaac Johnson, and, of course, the 35 for team owner Greg Van Alst, who supposedly is running the full season, but that will remain to be seen as the season goes along. Ryan Huff in the 36 for his own team. Thomas Anuzita, I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. He's running the 44 for Jeff McClure in a badass Cole Trickle throwback. He will run a couple more races, too. Becca Monopoly will be in the 47 for Denise Mixon's team with Mike Harmon. So cool to see Mike Harmon and Carl Long. Fielding ARCA entries in 2024. Who the heck would have called that? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see both of those guys back. Of course, good old Brad Smith got the DEI chassis. I posted it a couple days ago on my Twitter. It's a fresh car. Unfortunately, it's not going to have an Elmore, so it's still going to have the horsepower penalty. But nonetheless, probably one of the best cars Brad's taken to a plate track probably since 2018 when they had that before they had that crash at Daytona. So good car for Brad, actually, for once. Gustine in the 55 rounds out the Venturini Brigade. Hunter DeChantel will be returning in the 57. Steve Lewis Jr. will be returning in the 62. I used to saying Joe Aramendia, who used to be a former NASCAR driver, but John Aramendia, I wonder if he's his son. He'll be in the 63 for Jeff Spraker's team. Gil Linster will be in the 68 for Kimmel, and, of course, Scott Melton in the 69 for Kimmel. Andy Jankowiak will be in the 73, of course. Mandy Chick in the 74. Brian Dowsett in the 75. Cody Dennison will run the 86 for Alex Clubb. 2 entries for Alex Clubb. Chuck Buchanan Jr. Was a late entry in the 87. A.J. Moyer running for his own organization this year in the 88. Caleb Costner in the 93. Braden Laster moves to partnership with Man Motorsports and Justin Carroll's team in the 95. Jason Kitzmiller in the 97. Dale Shear in the 98. Michael Maples in the other fast track entry, the 99. Takuma Koga, yes, from the West Series. Takuma Koga looks to live a dream running Daytona in the 01. Leland Honeyman Jr. runs the 02. I think he's got to run the race too for Super Speedway experience for the Xfinity race later in the day. So that makes sense. Alex Clubb, of course, in the 03. Tommy O'Leary, the 4th. Yes, for the first time in what feels like forever. Tommy O'Leary, one of the original Peterson drivers in the early 2010s. Cool to see him back in the 06. Jeff Scottfield in the 07. And Patrick Emmerling in the 08 rounds out our field. Woo, that's a lot to get through. 50 drivers, unbelievable. Just a big field of cars. Lots of competitive stuff. I'm telling you, Brad, he stepped it up. Wayne has stepped it up. If only they didn't have horsepower penalties, man. I think if they didn't have those horsepower penalties, you'd see some pretty shocking speed out of those cars. But as we know, of course, there will be some. I believe the only cars that are showing up to Daytona with non-Ilmor motors are the 31, the 48, and the 06. I think everybody else in the field will have the Ilmors. Now, of course, the penalty of not running Ilmors is about 100 horsepower, which will effectively eliminate you no chance to compete in the draft. We did see some surprising speed out of the 31, but I attribute that to Tim Goulet really knows how to set up a super speedway car. So even if he has the horsepower disadvantage, Tim Goulet knows how to streamline that body, streamline the setup so that even with the horsepower penalty, the 31 might be able to still go in the draft. If they can get a car behind them, they might still be able to keep up in the draft. But the 48 and the 06, I'm not sure. And that's not a knock, not against them. That's just, they just don't have the horsepower to keep up. It's plain and simple. I don't really know why ARCA does that. I don't like it. It just kind of makes them slower than really what they have to be. And when the field goes by them, it tends to cause wrecks. So I really don't. It's one of the few things I don't really agree with when it comes to ARCA, and I'll admit that. So, but yeah, a great field of entries. 10 cars got to go home. Rain is not necessarily going to be a factor on qualifying day. 40 cars will make it, of course. 34 cars will make it on time. We qualify on Friday. 34 cars on time, 6 provisionals. So obviously for the teams that are new, got to be in that top 34. If we do have rain out for qualifying, the teams that will miss the race will be the 08, 62, 27, 57, 36, 87. I think the 87, 07, 13, 47, and 86. I think those will be the cars. I believe if that's correct, if my list is correct, those would be the cars that would miss the race if the race got rained out. But not the race, but if qualifying got rained out. But right now, qualifying for the ARCA race is looking good. The race day, not so much. But right now, qualifying is looking good. So, notable entries in the field. Really, I wouldn't say there really is a notable entry outside of maybe Gus Dean. A lot of newbies this year. Obviously, we do have some returning faces, but a lot of newbies. And I love that. Realistically, I think we are guaranteed a new winner this year with the amount of new drivers in the field. Just the disparity, though, amongst the field, the competitiveness amongst the field. Probably going to be one of the more competitive ARCA fields. Obviously, the way that ARCA does their qualifying, it'll be groups. It will not be single car qualifying. I would expect the way they're going to do it. Try to keep it maybe 7 to 8 cars apiece. So do 7 groups, 5 minutes apiece. I could see them doing, you have 7 groups of 7 and 1 group of 8. That would give you your 50 cars. Or they could go the simpler term and just do 5 groups of 10. Something like that. So if you guys hear my dog barking, I'm sorry. I think they're probably wrestling with my dad upstairs. But yeah, I don't even know where to pick a winner for this, guys. I think I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with an easy choice. If you guys in the chat want to pick your winner for the ARCA race, I don't know, man. I really don't know who to pick, but I'm going to go with. There's just so much. I'm going to go with Jake Finch. I know some people are tired of the Venturini Brigade. Tired of the Venturini Brigade, always winning, but I just think they're too hard to beat, man. So I'm going to go with Jake Finch. I am going to go with Jake Finch to win the race. My underdog pick, and this is the one I'm excited about. My underdog pick for the race, I'm actually going to pick Willie Mullins. I'm going to go with Willie Mullins as the underdog pick, and I'm going to go with Jake Finch as my primary pick. It's going to be quite hectic for us. They've definitely adjusted the schedule due to the amount of cars, and tech is going to take forever. Garage opens up at 6, and practice is not even until 4. So hopefully that's enough time to get everybody through tech. I applaud ARCA for adjusting the schedule to make sure everybody's got a fair shot at getting a practice lap. And how the groups are done is not by choice. It is literally by a random draw. The drivers or crew member, one of them, will go to the hauler, and they'll just simply pick out a group or pick out something that will see which group they'll be in. So, yeah, it's gonna be something. We leave tomorrow. We'll be driving all through the day, all through the night. I'm not sure what time we'll get to the track. Alex said maybe 10 a.m. at the latest when they're going to park trailers and haulers. And then we just hang out until the action starts on Thursday, man. It's going to be crazy. So, yeah, the 03 is locked in due to last year's owner points, but the goal is to get the 86. And obviously we want to get both cars in the show, but the 86 is a long shot, man. But, I know Alex, we're all going to try our best. We're all going to try our best for sure, and I hope we can get both cars in. But it's going to be a long shot. There's no denying it. With a rookie driver and Cody, it's going to be a long shot. But you know what? We have a shot. At least with an Ilmore, we definitely have a shot. If we didn't have an Ilmore, maybe I don't think we would have a shot. But we have an Ilmore. I think we got a shot. Plus, it's a cool, slick black car. So I call it the Dark Knight. That's our 86 car, the Dark Knight. But yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be Saturday. It's going to be Saturday before the Xfinity race. Believe it or not, the purse for the race did actually increase a little bit. Not by much, but, every little bit helps. One thing I've pretty much given up ranting about it because it's, I know it's not going to change. But the purses for this year's ARCA race did go up by ever so slightly a little bit. First place is still $17,500, but with all contingency awards, first place is $25,725, about a $1,500, $2,000 increase from where it was last year. Second place is $16,525, and third place is $11,300. Last place used to be $2,200. This year it is $2,250. So I guess at the end of the day, $50 might not mean too much, but at the end of the day, every dollar goes a long way in this series. So if it means the ARCA teams are getting more money, even if it's by just a little chunk of change, I'm not going to complain about that. I think it's always good to see the ARCA teams just getting a little bit more money. So if we could jack up that winner's purse by about another $10,000 to $15,000, then I'd be okay. Because I think those guys, at least the winning team, deserves at minimum $35,000, $40,000. But that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, like I said, 34 cars on time, guys. So if you have your ARCA driver, you have your ARCA team, you want them to make the race, and they don't have any points, which is quite a few cars in the field. I mean, if you look over the entry list, basically you take out Fast Track, Venturini, Gibbs, Rev, Peterson, one of the club cars, Brad and Wayne. Pretty much everybody else could have a shot at missing it. I'm not kidding. Even a guy in 20th place in owners points could miss the race. You never know. So, my pick for the championship, though, like I said, right now, early championship picks. I am going with Andres Perez de Lara to win the championship. I think. I don't know if Venturini wins the title this year, man. I mean, Chris Wright, he's got me blocked. Chris Wright still got me blocked on Twitter still, so that tells you that. But he's just mad because people call him out for crashing all the time. And then, of course, you got Tony and Amber. Tony has improved significantly. I'm quite excited to see what she's going to do this year. And Amber didn't exactly have the best season in the 30 car a couple years ago, but we'll see how she does this time. I'm not going to say anything bad or anything good about it. Just going to say, let's hope she does better. We'll put it like that very nicely. But yeah, I'm excited for this, guys. I hope you are too. Hopefully we can get a race sponsor. As of now, it's still called the Daytona ARCA 200. So I know it's late. I know we're only a couple of days away from it, but come on, someone sponsor the race. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to be on Fox. The race is going to be on, I think it's Fox or FS1. You're going to get plenty of exposure. I hope we can get a sponsor for the race. We lost the Lucas Oil sponsorship that had been around for so long. And then Brandt Agriculture was kind enough to come on. Justin Allgaier's sponsor was kind enough to sponsor last year's ARCA race. So hopefully we can get a sponsor this year. I don't know why. I don't know why these races at Daytona cannot get a sponsor. It's great publicity. I mean, at this rate, just have Menards be the primary sponsor. They already own the series. So, but yeah, that's the ARCA portion, guys. Big field of cars. I'm going to try to bring you guys as much content as possible in terms of photos, videos. I'm going to try to do some vlogs. I'll be posting to the channel, not the channel right now during the week. I'll be posting it next week, but I'll be posting it all over my Twitter, all that good stuff. Just trying to bring you guys as much content as possible from Daytona for both ARCA and NASCAR. But yeah, so that's the plan for ARCA, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let's now transition over to the Backmarker Battle segment, which I'm sure a couple more of you guys are here for the NASCAR segment. We got all other 3 series here, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Big Boys in the Cup Series. So we will start off with the smallest of the series, the Truck Series, which I have to say, starting off right now, I am kind of disappointed at the entry list. The Truck Series used to have some of the biggest entry lists. I mean, last year we had 42, and this year we only got 39. So kind of surprising. We only have 39 entries for the truck race. I kind of shocks me a little bit. You'd think with the Truck Series we would have a little bit more intrigue to run this race. Trying to find the entry list real quick. I had it pulled up. Here it is. Yeah, 39 trucks. The 10 of Jennifer Jo Cobb is going to run. She's just not listed on the initial entry list, but she'll be there. So 39 trucks for 36 spots. I got to say, the DNQs, man, for this one are going to be interesting. A lot of lower budget teams bought points. Now, the regular entries, there was quite a few changes, but we will go through the regular entries that have changed from last year. Tricon Garage continues to field the number 1 truck. Unclear if that'll be full-time like it was last year, but Tony Breidinger will at least run for Daytona. Mason Massey today was actually announced. He will run the 02 for Young's Motorsports full-time. I definitely think running only 1 full-time truck for Young's Motorsports, especially with their Xfinity program, I think 1 full-time truck is the best option, and then run the 12 or the 20 at races where the Truck Series might need, a field filler, like a field filler entry, because the way it's looking, we might have some short fields in the Truck Series this year, and it wouldn't shock me if we see Young's Motorsports, run another truck again. But I think cutting back down to 1 full-time truck is going to be a lot better for that team. I think having a driver like Mason Massey, who races hard, but he's also very clean. He doesn't really wreck his stuff. I think that's what Young's Motorsports really needs to build some momentum, because their truck team, I'm going to tell you guys, last year, I really felt bad for them. Anytime it felt like Young's Motorsports was starting to build up some momentum in the Truck Series, it's like all 3 trucks would just demolish themselves. And half the time it wasn't even their fault. They would just get caught up in the crash. So hopefully they can have a good year. I really do hope they have a good year. Corey Roper will run his own 04 truck. Corey LaJoy, of course, Spire Motorsports, running 3 full-time trucks, the 7, the 77, and 71. Corey LaJoy will run at least the first race of the season at Daytona. Grant Enfinger moves over to CR7 Motorsports for the full season. With now they have purchased quite a bit of equipment from GMS, so hopefully that team will run competitive. Jake Garcia moves over to the 13, which Haley Deegan has now moved over to Xfinity. So Jake Garcia moves to the 13. Tyler Ankrum has left Hattori Racing and will join McAnally's team in the 18. And overall, the 16 team's not even here. And I'll say it's kind of sad not seeing Shiga Hattori's team on the entry list, but they are still expected to run part-time this year in both trucks and Xfinity. Jason White will be back in the 22. Not the Jason White that got arrested last year. The Jason White that nearly won last year's ARCA race. Canadian Jason White, not American Jason White. There's 2 of them. Isn't that weird? Ty Dillon moves from the 77 Cup car down to the Truck Series to drive the number 25 Rackley War Truck full-time, so that's cool for him. Josh Rayom's team will field 3 full-time entries. The 22 will be full-time, not with Jason White. He's just driving Daytona. The 27 will not be Keith McGee full-time. It'll just be a full-time truck. But Keith McGee will be in the number 27. Brian Dowsett and the fire truck. Who doesn't love the fire truck team? FDNY Racing, Brian Dowsett. Great to see them back yet again. Jim Rosenblum. He's in his mid-80s now, but but he's still kicking. So I love old Jim. He's cool. But they'll be in the 28 truck. Lawless Allen, he moves from Nice Motorsports to Rayon Brothers Racing in the 33. Lane Riggs takes over the 38 truck from Zane Smith. Matt Mills takes over the 42 truck from Carson Hocevar. Johnny Sauter will run the 45 truck. The 45 truck will be split by Caden Honeycutt, Johnny Sauter, and other select drivers in the 45. Thad Moffitt for the new Faction Motorsports team will be in the 46. Raja Karuth will move from the 24 GMS entry, which went out of business, to the 71 Spire entry. Stephon Parsons will run part-time in the number 75 for Henderson. Chase Purdy will run full-time in the 77 for Spire. Clay Greenfield returns in the GK95. Cody Robar returns again in the CR797. And Mason Maggio, it's listed as 121, but it's just a 21, is driving the Floridian Motorsports truck, which is quite interesting. Quite interesting team, one of the few Florida-based truck teams. So, and then, of course, Jennifer Jo Cobb in the 10. So, not the biggest entry list, but still a pretty solid entry list nonetheless. I tell you, man, these DNQ lists, obviously with the truck series having a spec engine, Ilmore, it just matters pretty much what engine they bring, what kind of, how good their engine is. We do have some owner point swaps that we did talk about a couple weeks ago. My honest picks for the DNQs right now, looking at the entry list, I think the 28 will be fine. Usually the 28 team brings more than enough effort to make the race. They didn't make it last year, but they usually make it every year. So I'm not going to say they miss it. I think the 28 team makes it. Even though the 27 and the 22 trucks both have points, I don't know if they're locked in, personally. I really don't know. I still think they're going to miss it, personally. I think the 22 and the 27 will both miss it. And the third truck, I'm actually going to give it to, looking over the entry list here. I am not quite sure. Who's that third truck am I going to pick? I'm actually going to say the 04. So I love Corey Roper. Everyone knows I love Corey Roper. But unfortunately, my picks for the DNQs are the 22, 27, and the 04. So those are my DNQ picks. And I hate saying that because I love Josh Rayomes, guys. I love Josh. I love how hard he works in the sport. But I don't know if it's just going to be enough. I hope to be proved wrong. I don't even know how I'm going to pick Xfinity picks a little bit later, but yeah, so those are my picks for the Daytona truck race. I think Jennifer's going to make it. I really do. We remember back in 2021, Jennifer made it on time. And even when she didn't make it last year or in 2022, she missed the field by very little. And even when she ran Talladega last year, Jennifer didn't miss the race by that much. So I would not count out that 10 truck. I really wouldn't. I know it's a long shot, but I would say the 10 truck has a chance. I really do think she has a chance. And I just want to see Jennifer in the field too. That's you can say it's a little bit unbiased by me, but I'd like to see the 10 truck in the field. I really would. So my pick for the truck race, God, man, these truck races at Daytona, every truck race is insane. If I had to pick a winner, though, I'd probably have to go with Corey Heim. I'm going to stick with Corey Heim. Corey Heim, in my opinion, is just the best in the truck series. I guess if I wanted to pick an underdog, Grant Enfinger, because he's won at Daytona a couple times. So either Grant Enfinger or Corey Heim are my picks for the truck race at Daytona. I predict at least 50% of the field to crash. Hopefully my guys, Timmy and the guys, can stay out of the big one and collect another solid finish. Hopefully I can run into them down there. But, yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll see how well they do. So now we move on to the Xfinity race, which I'm sure that's the one that most people are really excited for. It's always arguably the most craziest. And, boy, DNQ Day is going to be something else, man. 44 cars for 38 spots, man. 44 cars for 38 spots. Almost everybody in the field is running a leased motor program. So, because you pretty much got to at this point if you want to be competitive or even just make the show. You cannot run an in-house engine. Lots of changes from the offseason. Started off, the number 2 is now being driven by Jesse Love. The number 4 is now Dawson Cram. Anthony Alfredo moves from BJ McLeod to Auer, once again driving the 5. Garrett Smithley returns to JD Motorsports in the 6. That is a part-time schedule. The 6 car is not going to be full-time this year. Patrick Emmerling and Joey Gase have split. So Patrick Emmerling has moved over to SS Greenlight Racing to drive the 07. Sammy Smith moves from Joe Gibbs to drive for Junior in the 8. Daniel Dye, continuing his truck program, will run a part-time schedule in the 10 for Colleague. Josh Williams moves over to the 11 car from DGM full-time. Haley Deegan will move up from the truck series to drive the 15 for AM Racing full-time. Sheldon Creed will drive the 18 full-time for Joe Gibbs. Ryan Truex returns for a part-time schedule in the 19. And John Hunter Nemechek will be back for a part-time schedule in the 20. Sage Karam in the 26. No Sam Hunt 24 entry, which I think for that team is better. To cut back down to 1 car. Jeb Burton, of course, in the 27. Blaine Perkins will run the number 29 full-time for RSS. Jordan Anderson will run the 32, so 3 cars for Jordan Anderson's team. Frankie Muniz, yes, that Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. He'll be running the number 35 for Joey Gase. Natalie Decker in the 36, a 3rd DGM entry. CJ McLaughlin in the 38. Leland Honeyman Jr., yes, Young's moving up to the Xfinity Series. We got the Alpha Prime Brigade, Ryan Elson in the 43, Brennan Poole in the 44, Cesar Becquerel in the 45. Joey Gase himself will be in his own 53. David Starr returns to MBM in the 66. Stanton Barrett in the 74. BJ McLeod driving his own number 78 Chevrolet. Chandler Smith in the 81. Kyle Weatherman in the 91. Josh Bilicki in the 92. The 97 of Shane Van Gisberen. And the 98 of Riley Herbst. And the 114 of Daniel Suarez, which is just the 14, but they have to list it as 114. Now, the car will be prepped under Colleague Racing, but by technicality, since the number 14 is owned by SS Greenlight Racing, SS Greenlight Racing will get credit for the owner points. So a stacked field of cars, a stacked field of leased motors. Because at this point in the Xfinity Series, you got to run leased motors. It's one of the few aspects of the Xfinity Series I've not really liked over the last couple years. The era of your own motors, building your own motors is pretty much gone. Some teams still do it for some races, but you pretty much got to have a leased motor program to be mildly competitive. I know some people have said how much more competitive the Xfinity Series has really gotten. You know, in some ways I agree and I disagree to that. The mid-pack of the Xfinity Series has gotten more competitive. At the end of the day, you're still going to be seeing the same guys up front. You know, I'm sorry, you're just not going to see a Jordan Anderson car running for wins. You're just not there yet. I hope they get there one day, but at the end of the day, the mid-pack, the 10th through 25th place teams, that has gotten more competitive, whereas the top 10 weekly runners, well, they're still going to be up there. So, but arguably the Xfinity Series is more competitive than ever. As Tommy Joe Martin said, you've never had to spend so much money just to run 30th. I love that quote from Tommy Joe. I love Tommy Joe. Who doesn't love Tommy Joe Martins? Now, there are a couple of cars in the field that don't have a leased motor. From what I've been told on my cell phone, looks like the 45 of Cesar Becquerel will not have a leased motor. Obviously, the 74 car will not have a leased motor. In terms of other entries that will not have leased motors, now some of these entries that won't have leased motors will be backed up by owner points. Like they have the owner points to make the race, so they're not necessarily worried about buying a leased motor, because even with an in-house motor, you'll still be competitive. I mean, it's not like an in-house motor is the worst thing ever. But yeah, so we'll just have to see. Obviously, Jeb Burton is locked in on his past winners provisional because the 32 car will have points. The 27 car does not, but Jeb Burton's locked in on the past winners provisional. So all 3 Jordan Anderson cars are locked in no matter what. I tell you, man, the DNQs, I'm going to, for the first time ever on the Backmarker Battle Show, I will not be giving DNQ picks because I think it's just virtually impossible. I mean, if the 45 to the 74 don't have leased motors, they're going home. So that's pretty easy. But everybody else that is more than likely on a leased motor program, I don't know, man. I really don't know. It's hard to judge. It really is. I mean, you can say certain entries, but then they'll go out there and they'll shock you with their speed. So I'll take the 20, I'll take the 74 and the 45 if they don't have leased motors because they're not going to be quick enough. Maybe the 6. I don't know if the 6 is going to have a leased motor. We know the 4 will, but I don't know if the 6 is going to. I don't know. I don't know, man. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm not going to give DNQ picks because honestly, guys, I just can't. I cannot tell you who's going to miss this race. I just can't. It's going to be something, man. It's going to be something. My race winners pick. I'm going to go with who else? I know, shocker. I'm going with Austin Hill. Why not? The guy, 3 straight. I think Austin Hill is going to go 3 straight at Daytona. I really do. If he is still in the race with 10 laps to go, he's my pick. He's just, I don't see that guy losing. He is so good. RCR's plate program has always been unbelievable. Jesse Love, I'm curious to see how he'll do this year. He's got great leadership behind him. He's got good partners behind him. Hopefully he won't be treated as bad as Sheldon Creed was. But I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell. DNQ picks, I'm sorry, guys. I just can't give them to you. Because I know more than likely almost all of mine would probably be wrong. Because I don't know what kind of motors, even though they have B tier, A tier motors, it also depends on how you get off pit road, acceleration, and not clipping the apron in the corners. Because that's what caused some people to miss the show last year. They went into turn 1 and they went down, they clipped the apron and it shot them up the track. And had they not done that, they wouldn't have missed the race. So I don't know how to pick DNQ, so I'm just not gonna. We'll just let it play out. So that's the Xfinity race at Daytona. Next, we're going to talk about the big kahuna, the one big race we're all here for, the Daytona 500. One of the smaller entry lists, the 3rd smallest entry list of the weekend. Not the best thing to see, but kind of expected. The Daytona 500 just doesn't get a big entry list anymore, which we've all just kind of come to accept. A couple of different entries this year outside of the 36 chartered cars. In terms of changes in the field, we have Kaz Grala running the 36 for that's an open car. We've got Daniel Hemrick. He moves up from Xfinity back to Cup with Colleague Racing in the 31. The 16 will be a rotational car. A.J. Allmendinger will return full-time in Xfinity, but will also run the Daytona 500. Stage 60, again, that's an open team. Dang it. B.J. McLeod's team will go from a full-time team back down to a part-time car. And I think Justin Haley, I forgot about Justin Haley. He will move over from colleague to Rick Ware full-time. I think that's everyone. No, John Hunter. John Hunter will move up to the 42 full-time this year. So decent field of cars. The open entries, the 36 of Kaz Grala, the 44 of Greg Biffle. Yeah, that's right. The Biff is back. The stage 60 entry of David Reagan, 62 of Anthony Alfredo, the 78 of B.J. McLeod, and the 84 of Jimmy Johnson. So those are your 6 open cars. As we know, how they do Daytona qualifying is 2 cars will lock in on Wednesday. No practice before qualifying, which is just stupid. I really don't understand that move. And I'm tired of that stupid thing about cost cutting. It's the Cup Series. We're not cost cutting crap in this series. You want to cost cut, make the cars cheaper, which they can't do. Just run a 30-minute practice session before qualifying and mandate that you cannot have a pack of cars bigger than 3. Boom, right there. It's safe. Nobody's going to crash. Everything's good. So I hope we don't see any mechanical failures like we saw last year. In terms of who's going to miss this race, now I've seen pretty much everybody say, well, it's safe to say that the 78 and the 44 are going to miss it. I don't know about that. Depends on if the 44 car doesn't have fuel pump problems. I mean, that's basically what they had in every damn race they attempted back in 2022. And the 78, man, for BJ McLeod, we know BJ doesn't usually push it in the races. We know that. But, BJ's down to a part-time schedule. More than likely, he will not be returning with the Live Fast Motorsports team for quite a while. Probably not until either the first road course or even Talladega. So it's not like he's got a lot to lose, but it's not like this is as important as it was back when he was full-time. So I think we'll see BJ be aggressive here. In terms of the two cars who I think are going to lock in on the first day, we've tended to see the Chevrolets. Be, progressive. We know BJ will probably have a leased motor for the Xfinity race, but I'm telling you, BJ got himself a good Cup motor. We know the Chevrolets are fast. Okay. We know the Chevrolets are arguably the fastest cars at Daytona. Yeah, there's some Fords that get up there. There's some Toyotas that get up there, but usually on par, it is the Chevrolets that are the fastest cars at Daytona. Hendrick has won the front row for like the last decade. The top three were all Chevrolets, then a bunch of Fords. The highest Toyota was only 11th last year. So your poll is either going to come from a Chevrolet or a Ford. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I'd be a little concerned if I was Jimmy Johnson. I'm not sure if Jimmy is going to qualify his way in. Now, he did last year. He was 23rd, but it was close. It was close for him making it on time. Last year, we did have some surprising DNQs. I don't think anybody would have really predicted Austin Hill and Chandler Smith to miss the 500 last year. So for everybody saying that it's going to be the 78 and the 44 missing it, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think Jonathan Cohen and the team probably got it more figured out now. I've heard that they might even be getting some help from Nice Motorsports potentially, which I could see since they're both Chevrolet teams. And the 78 team really kind of depends on what package they bring. BJ McLeod's team did show some speed last year. I mean, they weren't even the slowest car in qualifying last year. They were 36th, yes, but they weren't slowest. Excuse me. So, I don't know, man. We'll just have to see. But I would not count out BJ. The two cars that I think that are going to lock in via qualifying, my prediction there are actually the stage 60 entry of David Reagan and the number 36 of Kaz Grau. I think the two Fords are going to lock in on qualifying day. And my DNQ picks for the Daytona 500, I'm actually picking BJ to make it. I think BJ, I think there'll be a Chevrolet team that'll help him, but I think BJ makes the 500, and this might shock some people, but my DNQ picks for the Daytona 500 for 2024, I'm picking Greg Biffle. Unfortunately, I love Greg, but I'm going to pick Greg Biffle, and I am actually going to pick, y'all going to hate me for this one, and I'm being serious. I'm going to go with Greg Biffle, and I think I'm going to pick Jimmy Johnson. I don't know, man. I got this weird gut feeling that Jimmy's not going to make it in on qualifying speed, and he's going to wreck out of his duel. I don't know, man. I just got that strange feeling. I got that really strange feeling that Jimmy Johnson is going to miss this one. Because, his performance last year wasn't really anything special, even in the race. I mean, he could draft, but I don't know, man. I don't know, but those are my picks. I think it's going to be the 44 and the 84 are going to be the DNQs. Greg, I don't know, man. I just don't think that car, not Greg Biffle, it's not Greg, but I don't think the car is going to hold up for Greg, unfortunately. But I don't think Jimmy's going to make the field. I don't know. I just got this strange gut feeling because I really do believe that the 36 and the 60 the Fords have good power. Yeah, you could say I've lost my mind. I know, you could say that's what I said. It might not be the most popular decision. But I think those two cars will lock in on speed. And that means Jimmy's got to pretty much race his way in. And I just predict that these dual races are going to get ugly and something's going to go wrong. Or the Chevrolet teams are going to stick it to Jimmy and have BJ be in the race. I don't know. I think it's going to be I just think it's going to be insane, guys. I don't know. If you think I'm insane for picking Jimmy Johnson, sure. But at the end of the day, he's an open car, and there is a logistical chance that he could miss the race. Okay? It really is. Jimmy Johnson's not guaranteed into the field. It is possible, no matter how insane I might sound. But yeah. And in terms of a Daytona 500 winners pick, man, I was there for last year. It was so great seeing Ricky Stenhouse get the win. In terms of a Daytona winners pick, I am going to go with, I'm going to go with my man. I'm going to go with my man. I've been sticking to him now for 15 years now. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. It's about damn time Brad gets himself a Daytona 500. He was so close last year, but I think Brad finally gets it done. So that's my pick for the Daytona 500. You can leave yours in the chat or in the comment section for people who are watching this podcast later. But sorry if I kind of rushed through the podcast tonight, guys. I know I thought we were going to be here for a little bit longer than just 46 minutes, but still got a lot of packing to do. Still got a lot of stuff to do tonight. But yeah. Oh, Justin Haley. If Rick Ware wins the Daytona 500, I will lose my. I'll be honest. I'll lose my shit if Rick Ware Racing wins the Daytona 500. That'd be awesome. Hocevar, Boucher, Briscoe, Harrison Burton. You guys got some outlandish picks too, just like me. So, but yeah, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in to tonight's podcast. I got to go finish packing. Again, please follow along on the YouTube channel for content. Please follow along on my Twitter for content at Start and Park Car on Twitter. Go give me a follow. Go leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications. I will see y'all next week for the Backmarker Battles and ARCA Racing Podcast review shows. They won't be together this time. Next week, they will be separated into 2 individual shows. But yeah, guys, till next time, I've been Colby Evans, Start and Park Car, signing off. Love you guys. Take care, and I'll see y'all in Daytona. Bye-bye.